Big smiles. Hi, everybody. Welcome back again. We're going to start this event. Together we rise, supporting businesswomen through Cyclone recovery. It was great to meet all of you before the recording started. So it's probably a question now whether you want to go around and introduce yourselves again so the audience that are watching this on a recording will know who you are. So I do apologize if it's a bit of a repeat, but let's just do a really short intro, 1 minute long, and then we can move on to Christine, who's going to come in and talk to us a bit about managing crisis. So let's start with Kate.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kate. I'm in a busy cafe right now. Hopefully you can't hear too much noise. I'm Kate. I help online business owners with their online businesses back end, predominantly using the Kajabi platform with done for you and done with you services. My business is called MZ Out of Office, and that's what I do. I help more people get some time out of office.
Thank you, Kate. I better do Eloise now because she's back on, so we want to hear what she's got to say. Come on, Eloise.
I did very quickly unmute myself.
Yeah.
My name is Eloise Conjin, and I'm the owner of the Bespoke Designer. So I'm a graphic designer and brand consultant, and helping people with all things brand identity and website design.
Thank you, Eloise. Jen?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Myers, and I own Generate Leadership Solutions, which is right there. And what I do is I help lift the performance of corporate teams through creating bespoke training and development programs around the topics of self-leadership, team leadership, communication, and sales. So that's me, Jennifer Myers from Generate Leadership Solutions.
Thanks, Jen. And Ramona, welcome.
Hi, I'm Ramona. I'm the owner of OCH Limited. I do apologise, I'm a little bit crook at the moment. We do virtual and physical robots. We do anything technology orientated, from risk assessment, cybersecurity, right through to building out specific AI requirements. So yeah, big technical geek and looking forward to doing some work with you ladies.
Thank you, Ramona. So Christine, would you like to include your intro with your yes? Awesome, I thought you might. Awesome, so let's get into this. We're here today to bring a group of women who've offered their time to explore some ideas and come up with, I wouldn't say solutions, but yeah, we'll find out what today is going to bring just by having a conversation. I think a group of women coming together is a good way to achieve something really great for those that are currently suffering in terms of the cyclone, but also in the areas that we don't know. I spoke to Eloise the other day, and there's places like Piha as well that's not doing so well. So I think today is just about coming together and having a conversation and finding out what are some of the questions that some of us are wanting some answers to. So I want to introduce Christine to talk to us about, okay, so Christine, she's a GDB partner of Girls Talk Business. She's had over 30 years of leadership and business experience. And I think the biggest thing about Christine that is really good to know is that she was a critical crisis manager in the local efforts for a multinational during the devastation in Christchurch earthquake. So Christine's going to come and share some of her valuable insights and experiences through crisis management and how we can support women entrepreneurs recovering from natural disasters. So she's going to share some of those thoughts with us, and then we're going to move on to Eloise. So welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Enos. So I guess the cyclone is what I will call a catalyst event. There's all sorts of catalyst events that happen in our lives. that are opportunities and challenges, big challenges. So some we create ourselves. So they're opportunities that we create for ourselves. Owning a business, starting a business, running a business, growing a business is a catalyst for a lot of growth and for us to learn and grow, but also can be a huge challenge. And a cyclone is also a catalyst event. It's a place where, you know, in those first days and weeks, there's a huge intensity around, you know, focusing outside of ourselves and all of the things that are happening and how they should be coordinated. There's a lot of doing and acting or waiting and not knowing. And it's that balance of those two things that can be quite challenging for us to manage our own brains in the process. So there's a lot of looking outside of things that are not in our control. And then there's a lot of thinking about ourselves and what we aren't controlling or what we can't control as well. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit today about the impact on ourselves and our focus during that impact. So Ines is correct. I was the crisis management manager during the Christchurch earthquake. I wasn't in Christchurch, so I cannot never know what it's like to be in the Hawke's Bay or in Christchurch. I wasn't there, but I know what it's like to have a massive catalyst event in your life that challenges everything that you were thinking, everything you thought about your business, everything you thought about who you are and who you should be. And so those things are real challenges. And I guess we are all here because we care about the girls in our community that are going through a massive challenge at the moment. And so that's what we want to do is I guess, show our support, show that we are here to help them rise to wherever they want to be, and that we can hopefully turn that into something practical today for people. So I guess I just want to talk a little bit about this this matrix that's up above me here. I put it here deliberately because I just want to talk a little bit about our internal responses and our external responses. So in a crisis like the cyclone, the impact we are often looking at is the impact on what's outside of us, on our customers, on our suppliers, on our stakeholders, on our property, on our insurance, you know, all of the factors that are impacting outside of us. And that impact can feel really large, and we want to be in a huge rush to solve that impact and sort it and make it happen and make it change and make it go back to how it was. It's a human desire to change that impact. And then our focus can also be very intense. And when we actually feel that intensity in our body, like literally the tightness in our body, the feelings in our body, the sensations, the anxiety, or whether it's you know, feeling sad, upset, all of those things, and our focus and how we feel it in our body, that axis of how much impacts and how in much intensity is a good way to just bring it back to ourselves and have a think about what is the impact that we want to create right this minute. What is the focus that we want to have? Focusing on ourselves, who we want to be in this moment, and knowing that our impact, a small impact every day, can be very powerful over the next 5 years. That desperation or that rush to get everything back how it was right now can be a source of draining our own energy and our own focus. So sometimes scaling down the expectation of what we need to do and how long it will take us, like scaling it back into just a small amount, a little bit of activity each day, over 5 years will have a huge impact. So just being aware of that scale and pulling that scale down can sometimes allow us to just calm down and just take a step at a time. And the same with our focus, that high energy, that high intensity of solving things and getting everything solved right now can again be a drain on our body and our brain and where we're at and how we're feeling. So I'm just asking you to question in your own body what you're feeling, the impact you're looking for inside yourself. What if it could be just a little bit smaller, just a little bit each day, and slowing things down a little bit to consider how you can get a bigger impact over time. Because if we look at the lessons from the Christchurch businesses, they would all say now that it was a huge learning curve, and many of them are much stronger because of what they went through and how they applied it in their business, and what they did as a result was actually an amazing pivot for their business. It's hard to see that right now. And that is what my advice from my own experience, the science and the recommendations is to just slow it down and just take it a day at a time. And that is the best suggestion I can make for the girls in Talk Business. Ask for help. Pride doesn't always have a place when we need to make change and we need to move. So sometimes asking for help or seeking what you want to have happen and somebody to support you in that, whether it's a collaboration with another local business or it's a bigger, just a reach out for family, friends, what it doesn't matter what the support is, but it's okay. We don't have to stay in our pride. We can ask for help. And Ines, that's I guess in summary what my experiences tell me and what I can share.
That's awesome. You've already given me some ideas of what Girls Talk Business can do for women that are currently impacted. Awesome. So I now want to introduce Eloise to share her journey, story, the impact that it has had on her and some of her clients. And through listening to her, we might come up with some ideas as well. So welcome, Eloise.
Thank you, Ines. As a graphic designer and someone who heavily relies on internet and power, we were in a zone that just completely lost all form of connection with the outside world for a full week. So we had no landlines, which meant no solid internet, and just the inability to communicate with any clients, any projects or contracts that had previously planned, and also not being able to just check on people to see if they were okay, and it was just we weren't that bad. We didn't get any flooding in our property. None of the equipment was damaged. It was more of just instant kind of state of worry, not panic, but more worry and about what was going to happen, and when anything was going to get back on track. And especially for someone who's very scheduled, very organized, that has, you know, like every day is in the calendar. I'm taking the badge. Okay, done. So it was yeah, and also so also the worry of getting work back on track, like when that was going to happen. So just complete shutdown for a whole week minimum. Still a lot of the clients that I had booked at that time are in the heavy flood, like disaster zone. So it was finally being able to see where they were, but also being sensitive to the fact that they are far worse off than I am. So not kind of just being sensitive to the fact that not bothering them about, oh, we have contracts booked, you know, and finding other avenues of things that you can do to keep your business flowing. There's loads of things that was going on in my mind at the time. And also, how can I help? Because there's people far worse off than I was. So there's all this information, because of like no connection with the outside world. So all the information that we were getting was newspapers that were being very kindly delivered to our post box, but they were maybe like 3 days behind of everything that was going on. And then seeing the full devastation of what was happening around us and in Hawke's Bay, and so all throughout Gisborne. And then what was being projected online and on the news was the demand for donations of various kinds, and then that was requested to be stopped, of like physical items, and then money donations was the next request. But but it actually was the case of finding people and talking to people directly in those high risk areas, or in the highly damaged areas, that actually specifically find out, you know, the things that they did still need. And it's very different from what you're hearing, and now no one's hearing anything. And that's, so we recently last week, you know, we're still talking to people, and we found out there are families that still have nothing. They have children and they have nothing, and they're still physically needing items, you know, to help them out. And so it's just trying to just do that little bit if you can, and trying to connect with people. But it's really difficult if, you know, if the newspapers and the news reporting one thing, then what, you know, how about, you know, how do you go about finding those families that still need help? And how do you, you know, kind of shut work down for a week? And it was okay. It's okay to slow down if, you know, if you can. There's other ways that you can build up momentum again afterwards. I found I talked to other leaders. There are ways. It's okay, you know, it's all right. It's just when it's like what Christine says, you know, just slow it down and calm the panic, and just take some time to, you know, to figure it out. And you can help people, and you can take time, and there are ways to re-motivate yourself afterwards. It's okay, and feel less emotional about the whole thing. So yeah, it was really really helpful. Yeah, just talking to other people about it, which was, and not trying to do it all by yourself as well, which is really important. Just speaking to people about how you feel is such an important factor of working through it, definitely. So thank you, everyone who I spoke to.
And that was the thing, wasn't it, Eloise, 2 weeks ago? It was really hard for you to talk about it, but now that you've had some time to absorb, slow down, feel, you can. And I really appreciate that you're here sharing that, because I know you didn't want to do it initially.
I was like, I'm just gonna cry. Yeah. But I think it's, yeah, because I couldn't be on the ground and I couldn't be physically with my 4-year-old. I couldn't physically be digging out people from houses and stuff. I couldn't be there. So you just have to figure out other ways. If you really want to help, you just have to really like dig in other ways and see what you can do, no matter how small, as long as you're, if you want to do something, you can. Yeah.
So tell me, how are your clients going so far?
A lot of them still haven't reconnected, and that's okay. I'm going to give them as much time as possible. That's okay. So I actively, and they are the ones in the, in the high flood areas. But so it was just being really extra motivated and jumping in and just creating new contracts when I was mentally ready to do that, to be like, right, okay, well, I've done this, now it's time to jump back in and make it happen. And it really is a state of mind.
So the ones that have reconnected with you, the ones that were affected, what are some of the questions they're asking you, or what is it that they're sharing with you in terms of what they've been through? Is there something you can share with us there?
Just that they just really needed time out to get back on track, and a lot of them they are the ones as well that are actually helping out in the community, so helping other people. That is still such an important factor. So I'm letting them. I've got it. I'm sorry.
Well, we did really well getting her to talk without being interrupted for that long. That was awesome. Thanks, Eloise. We'll come back to you with a conversation later, hopefully. Okay, I love this because we're really ahead of time. So now I want to ask Ramona to come in and share with us a bit about what experiences she's had with disaster zones and how what are some of the ways that her business has been able to support not just women, but anyone really that has been impacted by cyclones or
other
disasters. Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, we've had a few rotten years. It hasn't just been a cyclone event. We are still dealing with the tail end of COVID. We've got a lot of political red flags at the moment. So I think it's a lot. And what Christine was talking about us being, more mindful and aware. Our current lizard brains are completely turned up into saber-tooth mode. We're all trying to survive, and we forget too often that we can just be calm and ask for help. And I think that is a very complex question, asking for help when you actually don't know what you're asking for. If you're a sole business owner, your business intimately. How do you ask someone for help that doesn't know your business? How do you ask these tough questions? So I think part of it is raising awareness and making sure that we can ask people for assistance. Just, day-to-day stuff, IT support, whether it's, currently communications are down. Our business does telecommunications, so we can assist getting people online. Even if it's virtual, they can still have their current business numbers. We can do it in a voice over IP. There's many ways to help business. The current problems, I think, are cash flow, and understanding what parts people need more assistance with would be good, because we're not getting a lot of information from everyone. So it would be really good to just understand the parts that we need to move with. We are part of the Regional Business Partner Program, so we can get some funding for clients regarding automation and helping them out where they need to from a digital perspective. But yeah, just making sure that we're asking the right questions, understanding the risks, and making sure that the redundancies are in place.
So Ramona, what are some of the ways that you have helped?
So we've created contact centers for clients. So a contact center can be shared or it can be individual, where we can automate parts of the business. I'll give you an example. We've got a client who predominantly does 5 contact people, 5 salespeople on their phones, and they weren't able to obviously communicate with their clients at all. We were able to move their data center onto a remote team very quickly, and we lift them up within a matter of minutes. So their business didn't actually lose any time. We just had to get some training for the resources that came onto board. So it's just about being able to pivot very quickly. And again, I'll use the COVID example where we had multiple nurses on the hotline, just being able to take calls, take multiple calls, putting mental health practitioners on phones to deal with people, to help people. So we've worked really hard to create the environment where we've got shortages. Mental health is a big problem in New Zealand. So we've actually piloted a online mental health group, which is basically registered psychologists, therapists that are able to jump online, speak to people. But obviously with the Cyclone environment, it's not always going to be that helpful when they've got no internet and power. However, it's making sure that we're delivering enough awareness and access to that mental health arm and being creative around it. So in this instance, sure, they are struggling, but we can, via Starlinks and satellite phones, get information to them. But yeah, I think it's just a case of where do we actually need to target that help? Who needs it? Because if I look at my average client, if they're a business owner, they can't lose a week or 2 weeks of business. They're often self-employed. They will be in the trade industry. So the money or dollars and cents is impacted the second they're not working. And most people live hand to mouth. So if they're not earning, they're not earning. End of discussion. So yeah, just how do we mitigate that risk? We've put a lot of technology behind risk by helping clients not lose downtime. So I'll use RPA as an example. RPA is robotic process automation. How do we take technology and use it in a way that's beneficial? RPA will help the mundane tasks. It automates processes within your business. And if we have those automations in place, it's a fail-safe. So we discuss risk a lot in our industry. If you've got the right automation in place, your downtime becomes a lot less. So I always say, if you're a hairdresser or a doctor, you make your money cutting hair or seeing a patient. However, when you're not doing those things, you're not actually making money. It's administration or mundane tasks. So we're saying, let's take those processes away from people or businesses and allow them just to do what they do very well to earn money. So it's a bit of a balance. It is a bit of a balance, but yes, it is possible. It's just managing the risks, having good expectations, working through automation as a tool versus a big scary robot coming to take over the world. We also use a lot of AI as a really great tool. I'm sure everyone who's tried any chat GPT in the last few weeks has seen a lot of benefit from the AI technology. Yeah, our physical robots are doing very well with the skill shortages in New Zealand, and that's going to potentially be a problem long term. But yeah, just using the technology and asking the people that have the knowledge to help with the businesses. And I think technology is one of those things that people stay away from because, it's just too much. It's just too big a subject matter, or you don't know what you don't know. And we're trying to help people understand that it's okay not to know everything. Have a trusted partner that you can rely on for the technology parts. You know, my accountant always makes the joke, yep, she's great with accounting, but terrible with anything digital or IT related. And we're saying, but you just need to be good at an accounting aspect. Don't worry about everything else. It's too big, it's too much. So we try and empower people to A, be within their business, grow within their business, and not have the hassle of all the technical jargon. It can be a little bit intimidating, but it doesn't need to be. So our biggest policy is the KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. There are things that we don't need to worry about. Also, as a female in the IT industry, it's so critical to empower young women coming into the industry. It's very important for them to know that they can, and if we support them, they will. And yeah, it's a great industry to be in, and this is a great cause for us all to be involved in. So very grateful to be here.
I don't know, I could listen to you for hours. I feel like I could. You just have so much amazing.
My voice won't hold for hours, I'm afraid.
I think what you're saying is just so on point. And so many of us, I think, right now at that transitional stage from the hangover of COVID, where, you know, to some degree we were forced to make a change. And now there are so many opportunities for us to keep changing or growing or incorporating these great new, you know, ideas. Like
absolutely, it's the precipice. I always call it the precipice. We're talking about the curve of the bow, and when we have these catastrophic scenarios, we have to change the way we do things in order to survive. So we're talking about business survival as well as species survival. And if we don't look to the technology going forward, we've got a lot of problems in this world. But the technology can help us. The technology can actually be our greatest asset. And that's why we're trying to debunk the mystification of it. Do we need to know how to code? No. Do we need to know every intricate detail? No. We just need to know that it works. We need to trust it and go on the journey. And these precipice events definitely affect those journeys. I was having a good chuckle with a girlfriend of mine yesterday. We remember when the internet used to make that horrendous noise. And that wasn't that long ago, you know. So if we look at what has happened through the COVID pandemic specifically, we've seen the changes in the technology. We're doing a Zoom right now. We're talking to people in all parts of the country. That is amazing. It's not something that would have happened this effectively had there not been a COVID pandemic. So we are seeing great strides in the technology sector, but we're also seeing a really good uptake of the technology as it's becoming readily accessible to people. So I think that's a big part of our journey, is making really fancy tech available to small businesses. And that's been a big core of our business, is bringing big company solutions to smaller businesses.
I love that. Big company solutions to small businesses. It's a good branding. I feel like, you know, just by listening to the three speakers so far, we've got people here that actually can help, but it keeps coming back to that question: who needs it? And are they going to ask for it? So this is why I wanted to do this event, because I do know there are so many women out there that want to help, but they don't know where to start or who actually needs their help in the first place. Because by nature, we in particular, I think women will put our hands up faster to help. So we're like looking at these businesses who are suffering and we're going, ask us for help. What do you need? So maybe that is the first question that we put out there, is ask us for help. And then we can give you a solution or direct you in the right place.
Or even a nomination might be a good suggestion. So we are not boots on the ground, but maybe having that conversation and starting a whisper campaign for nominations. Do you know anyone in the industry that has been affected by the cyclone that needs assistance? And then let the propositions come in that way.
So I know Jean's got a bit of information or input she'd like to add, because we briefly talked about it at the beginning. Jean, did you want to jump in and share something to the group?
Yeah, it's interesting to listen, Christine, to what you were saying about first about consolidation, right? There's a lot of people that probably went into this year thinking, things are getting back to normal and we're getting out of COVID and I'm going to have a great year and I've got all these great plans, and they can really be set up for some major disappointment. So it's really, like you said, readjusting your expectations about what's happening this year, slowing down, consolidating. This is a great opportunity. When things like this happen, it's a really good opportunity, even as, you know, both you and Ramona said, these catalyst events, these precipice events make us refocus and force us to consider how we're doing things and who we're being. So it's a really great opportunity to consolidate and get even better at what you currently have going on, so that then when you're able to, moving forward, you can grow, right? Even stronger than you would have in the beginning. So even though, yeah, these things look, you know, depressing, frustrating, anxiety inducing, there's really some, you know, a silver lining that can come out of these, but we have to look for it, and we've got to be open to receiving that. So I did a webinar a couple of years ago for my clients, and it was called Finding Opportunity in Crisis. And there's a couple little bits there that are relevant, and I'm just going to pull it up for my own refresher here so I can have a peek. But there's a few things out of here that I think are relevant that I'm going to share. The first is, if we're not in an area that's been directly impacted, but we've got friends and clients and associates in those areas. You know, I've got 2 business partners in Hawke's Bay right now who, you know, are in the middle of exhaustion. You know, they've been going and going and going for a good couple of weeks now, and they're just tired. So we, as leaders and influencers of those people, need to support, provide hope. And the slide I'm looking at right now says, we as leaders need to define reality for those we lead. And I think, to me, what that means, and this comes from John Maxwell, right? I'm a John Maxwell certified trainer and coach. So one of those concepts came from him. And to me, that means really helping people to take a step back from being overwhelmed and in the eye of the storm, and kind of step back and take a look at it objectively. So really helping people to step back and look at the bigger picture. And that kind of ties in with one of the other points that came out, which was attempt to look beyond the next 90 days, right? The next 90 days are still going to be difficult, but attempting not to make knee-jerk reactions in your business based on, you know, what you think you need to do immediately, but really stepping back and saying, okay, if I do this now within the next 90 days, how is that going to impact my overall business? I think that's important. So those are a couple important points. Let me slide through really quickly. I know there are a couple more good points out of here. Providing hope. People just need to know that stuff's going to continue to happen. The world is imperfect, right? We've got all sorts of things, as Ramona said, happening at the moment. This will not be the last thing that happens. And it's not a depressing point. It's just a fact. So again, how can you, as Ramona does, mitigate risk in the future? If something like this happens again, how can you be better prepared? You know, providing people hope that they will get through this. We've gotten through stuff in the past. We're going to get through this as well, because it's true. So again, providing the hope for your folks, they need that. Focusing on opportunities. Thinking beyond the short term, thinking creatively about how to strengthen every area of your business, from marketing to sales conversions, to how you deliver your products, to how you talk to your clients. Your clients need to hear from you if it's at all possible for you to get in touch with them. You know, especially if they're in those areas, they need to hear from you. So reach out, just let them know you're there, that you care. You know, and if you're one of those people that's affected, get some help to get in touch with your clients, right? Let them know that you're doing the best you can, that you haven't forgotten about them in your own struggles. They'll understand. It's all good. Yeah. Oh, 3 questions to ask yourself each day. I'll wrap up my comments on this one, you guys. How will this situation make me better? How will I use this situation to help other people? And what action can I take that will improve my situation? I love that. Gosh, I want to deliver this again somewhere. That's a really good one. Oh.
I do love that. Only worry about what you can change.
Yep. The rest is just wasted effort and emotional
Absolutely.
stress. Yeah.
We've got.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have a saying in South Africa: you eat an elephant one spoon at a time, and it's just taking small bite sizes.
Absolutely. Because if you look at the whole thing, it's like, oh my God, that's overwhelming. Just
Okay.
focusing in on what's my next best step right now.
I love what you said about providing hope. And I think that would probably be the first step in terms of what Girls Talk Business can do right now in the group, is possibly do some posts around providing some hope for them and having a conversation around what that looks like, understanding and meeting them where they're at. One thing I've learned through my time collaborating and working with women is it's all good having answers, but are they the right answers? And this is why I keep bringing it back to, we don't have the answers. We've got some answers that we've had through our experiences, having lived them or seen them ourselves. But right now in this situation, we can only give them hope momentarily to move them forward. So that's possibly the biggest overall thing that I can offer right now, because I do want to take an action. So if hope is what we can give them, then that would be something that I would like to do. Now we've got Sarah coming in shortly, but I just want to add something that, as I've been listening to everybody on a personal note, because, you know, I do like talking on a personal level. When I came to Croatia when I was 8 years old, it really impacted me. It impacted me so much that I've been trying to figure this impact out for the last 50 years, nearly 47 years. And it's only now that I've been able to take a look at the impact it gave me in terms of being taken from one country and put into another. And as I'm listening to all of you sharing your ideas and your stories on how to help people overcome their own cyclone disaster, it's really no different to the disaster that for me, I lived. And the biggest problem I had was asking for help, because you want to be doing it on your own. You can do this, you're a survivor. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know when they will ask for help. And that would be really sad if they didn't.
I think it's also creating the environment for them to be allowed to ask for help, because people don't want to inconvenience people. It's just a natural thing, whether we're talking pride or ego, or sometimes we just don't, like, oh, I was talking to Ines the other day and she was carrying on about her problems, and I didn't feel I could ask the question. So sometimes we put up these barriers and walls, and I think we need to create a safer environment for people in that collaborative space to be able to ask for help. And I think maybe that could be also an actionable, is allowing that ability to ask, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, or I need some support around this. We do this internal gift with our colleagues. People always send out wine or chocolates or something for a gift. We send a maid for the day, and it's just, everyone hates cleaning their own house. Anyone can get a bottle of wine, but having someone to come into your house and clean it, that's just one thing you don't have to deal with. It's just those random acts of kindness that can really go a long way. So I think we just need to create a really good forum for someone to, or for anyone, as I said, nominating somebody, the ability to ask for help.
And we're all networkers, right? Or we wouldn't be in
100%.
Girls Talk Business. So I think in our networks and the meetings that we have, right before we started, I looked at Kate. I'm like, I need to catch up with you, Kate. We need to do a one-to-one. So even remembering as we're out networking and in our meetings and in our Zooms, just asking the question, how can I help you? And being genuine about it. How can I help you? What do you need? And making sure that there's space to have that discussion as part of your conversation.
I don't think it's just people in the Cyclone environment. I mean, I speak to women in business all the time. We're moms, we're wives, we're partners, we're business entrepreneurs, but we're dealing with things. We all deal with things. Hey, how are you doing? What can I do for you today? Yep. Just creating those safe conversations. And as I said, when I started this meeting, whether it's male or female, it really is irrelevant. We need good people, regardless. But women do struggle to say, hey, I'm underwater. I need help. Today I need help. Because we take it as direct failure. You're not a good enough mom. You're not a good enough wife. You're not a good enough entrepreneur. We're very internal creatures. And I think that is often the problem. When I talk to, because I do a lot of talent acquisition, when I have male and female candidates, the girls are always, underselling themselves because they're too scared to ask or they feel undervalued. And a lot of what I do is, hey, your male counterpart who's less qualified than you is asking for $20,000 more, and you're worth it. You need to know you're worth it. So yeah, I think we just need, our leaders to open up those conversations. And here we are, we're present, we're here to hear you, and how can we help you? And it might just be in a matter of hope or a shoulder, but in whatever capacity that is, let's start the conversation.
That's a good point, Ramona. It may not be something tangible. They may just need somebody to listen. Go ahead, Christine.
It's all right. I was just going to say the flip side of that is that all of what you've talked about is fantastic, but also there will be women there who want opportunity to take their new idea or their thing that they've actually replanned for into a bigger space and get some input and get some ideas of how they're going to launch from here to what's next. And I think that's something that we can offer as the opportunity for people to really take a next step and actually move forward, as well as ask for help. It's just create that opportunity, because hope is great, but it doesn't have a lot of energy. It's not actionable. Opportunity is actionable. We can actually take an opportunity, make an opportunity, do something with an opportunity. So turning the challenges into an opportunity for these women in their businesses and their lives is where I would like to, be aspirational for these women that are amazing and are gritting it out. And I want to create opportunity for them. That's what I would like to see us do.
I'm loving these conversations. It's so good. Something I want to add, I don't know where I heard this, but I know it did happen a few years back. And I remember people opening their doors to people that were affected by, I don't know whether it was Christchurch. I actually think it was Christchurch. And there were people around New Zealand who were opening their homes in terms of letting Christchurch people come and stay to just get away from all the disaster that's going on in Christchurch. That's something that's been playing around in my mind in terms of seeing if there's anyone in Gisborne right now that wants to get out of Gisborne and just go and stay somewhere different, just to have, it's amazing when you do come away from there and it's not family you're going to, you're just going somewhere different that allows you that space, time, and a different environment, gives you a different energy and a perspective on things. So that is something that I have also been mulling around in, because I know it was pretty effective for Christchurch. There were some really amazing people that were really thankful for that experience. Kate, you've been sitting there calmly and beautifully. Is there anything you'd like to add to the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, all of this has just provoked, I guess, thought and point in my brain as I've been listening. I think what Romana does is amazing, and something that you said was people don't know what they don't know as well. So in New Zealand especially, I think we have such tight networks of people, and because it's such a small country, you know, it really is a village. So even if you don't know, just speaking to someone in your community, in your business circle bubble, and seeing who they might know who can help with something. So I saw a really great example of this actually after the cyclone within the virtual assistant community in New Zealand. I'm a member of the New Zealand Virtual Assistant, and some of those virtual assistants helped out with the admin and moderation of the Facebook group for the lost, some of the people that were missing. You know, I think prior to the cyclone, maybe that person, whoever started that Facebook group, probably hadn't even heard of the virtual assistant network before. And that was a really nice way as well for some of the virtual assistants to give their time and help as well. So that was one thing I was thinking of. The other thing that got my brain thinking over was when these kind of things happen for the business community, the businesswomen in this group, who on the ground. So we have like charities that help out in terms of clothing and feeding and fixing houses and digging and things. What kind of business groups are there that are like that people can reach out to? Is it the local chamber of commerce if they're not under market as well? You know, because if it's like thinking of myself, if something happened to me in my place that I am right now, I don't know who I would reach out to other than the virtual assistant network probably to help with my business, but just even like how can I get in touch with my clients? How can I move forward from this, really? If you're still sitting with no internet, no power, and even just, you know, not even able to deal with whatever else is going on in your house and with your children and your everything else. Yeah, just thinking like what business charities, I guess, are there that people would know of to reach out to if they're not already in a networking group or a group such as this.
It's a great question, and I think that's why I'm doing this, to see what are some of the questions that people have out there. And that was probably another question that was rolling around in my head. What would happen if I was in a disaster? Who do I reach out to? Like, where do you go? Especially if you don't have internet. You know, who's going to know? Like, who's going to know? And maybe that's something that I did do a post in Girls Talk Business, posting who to reach out to. So I have done that post where I put together a list of people that you can reach out to. But what you're saying is probably a little deeper than that. Would that be right?
Well, I guess broader, and it could be for people that aren't even in Girls Talk Business at the moment, you know, but because they don't know what they don't know. So, but they're in that region, yeah. The other thing about not having internet, something I've experienced in a third world country, not in a disaster zone, but in a third world country, not having internet impacts you a whole lot more than you think. It's not just your business and your phone and your laptop. Everything in our lives right now is connected to internet. So yeah, there's a lot that stops and stands still when you don't have internet.
Well, maybe Ramona can step in and give us.
Wow.
Just before that, Sarah, we just tap in, and then I'll come and introduce you, and then you can share your shares with us. So we're just having a bit of a conversation around what Kate just brought up. Thank you, Sarah. Go ahead, Ramona.
So we are getting better with our technology. Australia has rolled out a LoRaWAN satellite across the country. We're hoping that New Zealand follows suit, and internet will be a lot more accessible for everyone, and if we've got the right devices. So the technology is coming. We just don't have it currently, but it is improving as we go. So Rocket Lab is launching mid-level satellites for communication in New Zealand. So yeah, we will get to a point where we won't have as much interruption on the internet. But in saying that, we need to have a buddy system. So what Kate was saying is absolutely correct. Do we know who to contact? No. should we put a buddy system in place, which comes down to the risk assessments again. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, does my business come to a standstill? And if the answer is yes, then you need to look at your risk.
Love that. I love the buddy system. We're all pausing and thinking, who would we reach out to?
And it doesn't have to necessarily be somebody in your, immediate network. It could just be, someone who's competent, and you spend a couple of network sessions together. In the event something happens, there's a trigger event. So it's just about putting those processes in place and having a really good risk assessment. I've got one of my senior business analysts, every time I look at her, she's like, are we having a risk discussion today? Because we've got everything with our industries fail safes, and if this happens, that happens. So we've got data centers because we run payrolls, we run HR systems, we run all this cool technology. And if a data center gets hit, what happens to the information? So we've got multiple fail safes. If it gets hit at one data center, there's a rollover to another data center or to another cloud IP. So we've got all these redundancies in place. And I think that's very important from a long-term perspective. Is your business future-proof? If not, how can you make it future-proof? And once you've assessed that, is it disaster-proof? And COVID, I think, has definitely, escalated that conversation. More people are having that conversation, which is good.
Long pause for everybody thinking.
That's a good points. Those are excellent points, Ramona.
It's great.
It doesn't matter what size your business is, there's always a way to make certain redundancies so that, the hit by a bus scenario. Yeah, I love that. If I get hit by a bus, what happens?
Yeah. And that at the end of it is, we're worried about our income capability. How are we providing for our families? And if you're the primary earner in your household, it's the worry. It's you're off your flow, and it's a big stress. I look at your average household in New Zealand. They cannot afford to be without income for a week, 2 weeks, 6 months. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now thanks, Sarah, for coming. Well done. We're going to get Sarah to jump in. She's another GTV partner of Girls Talk Business, and her business is called Sweet Spot Business Coaching. Sarah helps me in my business, and I can't do without her. Love our meetings. So Sarah and I spoke briefly yesterday, and she's got some questions that she's been able to, I suppose, find out from some of her friends that are living down there, or some friends that are living down there, that I think this is an opportunity for Sarah just to give us an overview of some of the things that have been coming out of the disaster zones, and some questions or answers even. So step on in, Sarah.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Apologies that I've only just got here. I had something else on prior. So I had a conversation with somebody who has a close friend in Hawke's Bay. And it was just kind of about, how can we help these small businesses? How do we know when, are we bothering people when they're kind of like, Christ, I can't, do we approach, when do we know that we can approach people to say, I'd like to give you my business? Is that just going to stress them? Or are they, how do we know when they're ready to start doing business? And because I don't want to kind of approach somebody and say, hey, I'd like to, I don't know, do some consulting with you, if they are, just trying to find a place to sleep for their family, then it's just going to stress them out even more, right? Because they're trying to be professional, and whilst we are kind of like, look, I don't care how you show up, don't worry about it. I know that when you're in that position, there's still, you feel this need to still show up as your professional self, even if it's totally unrealistic. So how do we know where a business is at, and how can they communicate to us? And yes, they can put a post on their website saying I'm back in business. Yes, they can send out an email, but I'm just wondering if there's anything out there that we can tap into that's already been created, and I don't, kind of nearly like a digital notice board or something like that, where when people are ready to go up and running, they can put it there, or this is all I can offer right now. But if it's a service that you need and you want to support a local business, then I can do this. The other thing that we talked about was what practical small things can we do to help businesses to generate some income. And one of the things that came up was about wine that is absolutely fine, but there's silt on the labels. So to look out for vineyards, buy directly from the vineyards so that they get more money, and don't worry about the silt on the label kind of thing. So I actually thought that was a great practical way that we can, support local businesses. Another one, which I hadn't thought of at all, was apples. Buy apples, because the top of the apple trees didn't get affected. I mean, this is not going to be every apple orchard, but they are selling. They were able to salvage a lot of the apples apparently, but obviously those apples only have so long before a shelf life or whatever that they can be sold. So buy apples, make apple pie, boil them up, steam them, put them in the freezer, because it's another way to help the orchards. So I actually put a post on LinkedIn this morning to ask, are there any other random ideas like that of how we can help or, purchase? But I didn't actually get any responses. So Eloise, you may have something to add here that, or some answers that you can enlighten us, or anybody else.
So I know Wick is doing some great things with her cake deliveries. How's
Baking,
that?
yeah.
She's still carrying on with that?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's doing that every week, and I actually found that great. My kids, she does it. She's got a contact. She Wicked Wellbeing, Wick Nixon. She does she's doing like a baking drive. So I think it's every Monday night. There's a truckload of baking that goes down to the families, and they're able to get it to remote areas. And whilst we've been told not to send food, etc., I mean, she's actually from there. She's got good contacts down there, and people are really grateful for, some Anzac cookies or whatever it is that people can make. So Wick is one of the members of Girls Talk Business. And there are several pickup points in Auckland. There's one in Mount Albert, one in Green Lane, and there's one in Meadowbank. But if you fancy doing a bit of baking, then get in touch with her. I got my kids to do it. They really loved it, and just loved that they could do something, right? Because, what can a 12-year-old, 13-year-old do in this? And I also just like that feeling of showing them that there is something. You can do something, and that everybody can do a little something. Because there is that feeling of, well, I'm just little me, what can I contribute to this?
Yeah, awesome. Eloise is, I think she's on babysitting duties today, so she's in and out, but I'm sure she would like to have added to that. Okay, so there's a lot that I've written down today. There's a lot of questions. I don't believe today was about providing a lot of answers, but certainly posing some questions, and also understanding that we've got women that are there wanting to help and support. But it's really difficult because we're actually not being able to do that right now for them. So this might be a situation where it's long-term rather than just this instant where to release our own anxiety around not being able to help. I don't believe we're going to be able to help instantaneously, but certainly long-term. There is a website, Girls Talk Business, that we can put some information on there and start promoting it. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board and write some stuff down and then post it in Girls Talk Business so people know that we've had this conversation. We've had a lot of questions. We haven't come up with too many answers because we actually don't know what they need right now in terms of women in business. So anyone else want to jump in and add to the conversation right now after listening to Sarah?
I did have a question. Do we know what the government's doing? I know, like with COVID, we had Auckland Unlimited doing the regional business transformation processes. Do we know if the government's doing anything like that at the moment for the Cyclone?
Yes, I have an answer to that because I do a lot of work as a service provider for those fundings, and they've actually suspended the funding because they've had such a massive amount of
Response.
people who, you know, they've had so many, it's drained the funds, so they've actually suspended it. And I think it's, you know, I guess my message actually to businesses would be, when things like this happen, just get on and get your funding application in, because the first people always get it. And then it's the people who, and I know that, you know, this is, it may not have been possible for some people to actually literally fill in an application, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it's probably the people who were worst affected that wouldn't be able to get to a computer. So it's a bit of a, but they have suspended funding applications for the moment, and they are reassessing what they're going to do. So what they did have was up to $40,000 per business. Yeah, so it's just all on hold at the moment. And that
there was a fund that was created in Hawke's Bay by the mayors of the regions and the councils in the area. So there is a fund, kind of a similar thing, not national, but for their region that's available. And but I don't know what's happening with that at the moment exactly. I know
that might be
applications.
that might be a good avenue just to find out what do they need. So if there was a way to contact I'll do some inquiries, see if we can tap into that.
I like your idea, Sarah, of amplifying people's messages. So if they're ready for business and if they want to get the message out, then obviously we've got a platform that we can help do that.
What are your thoughts around that, Sarah, when you said, I like the word you used, digital notice board? What were your thoughts around that? What did that look like?
Well, I mean, it could be just a place that you can go and see. Like I've actually reached out to a Hawke's Bay consultant who I'm meeting with later this week, who I'm going to be doing some work with. But she's somebody I knew previously. Okay, so I kind of, and I said in my email, look, no stress if the timing is not right for you. I'm happy to wait. But I also knew that she hadn't had any income for, you know, quite a few weeks. But if I didn't know her, you know, through my networks, then I would feel, you know, kind of awkward. It's a bit like when somebody dies, you don't know whether to, like, you know, are your kind of advances welcome, or you know, it's just hard. It's hard for us to know. And I don't even know if they know, because it's probably one day they're fine, the next day, you know, so they're probably all over the place. But in terms of a digital notice board, it could be something that is in the group. It could be like, you know, and it would obviously have to be on a trust and honesty basis, and it's not just Hawke's Bay, is it? You know, I mean, there's people out, you know, in West Auckland who've been badly affected as well. But there could be something on, you could have, perhaps, this is just random, a pinned post on in the group that is, you know, want to support a Hawke's Bay business, click here to go through to the Hawke's Bay directory. Or not Hawke's Bay, you know, flood people who've been affected by the floods. And then you can also send out the message of, you know, if you've been affected by the floods and you're back in business, then, you know, fill in your details in this directory. And it would have, you know, I would do it pretty rudimentary. It doesn't have to be something that takes ages to put together. I'm just thinking the quickest way that it could be put together so it's not going to create a whole lot of work for you.
I can put my hand up and offer a website and a quick build there if we need it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, technically I it's not something I would be able to do, but we would just need something kind of like what your business is, what services you provide, you know, contact what you're able to provide, or something like that. I don't know, what's other people's thoughts?
I mean, Girls Talk Business has got a directory sitting there. I'm just trying to figure out how we can simplify it for them, because it's okay for the ones that want to support, but then you've got the ones that need support, and if they don't have the internet, then we're still in that back to the square one. How do we get them to see this, to tap into the support that's been offered? So yeah, I think there's a couple of steps we need to do, and it's all going to start evolving once the internet connections are being more secure and more regular.
Is there any kind of I saw Eloise just put a heart up. Eloise, are you able to talk? No, maybe not. I just wondered if, you know, if there's any kind of you know, I don't know, business association or something down there that could then spread the word, you know, be the carrier of the message, saying if you're you know, up and going, then.
Okay, so maybe that's something we can tap into. What, Ramona, do you have something to add to that?
No, I was just thinking. my brain's piddling.
I think that is a great idea. We need someone on the ground to then offer them the information we have in terms of what we've put together, and then get them to spread the word for us.
Yeah, you kind of
waiting. Yeah.
Nearly need to find that ripple person who knows those local businesses. And then what we could do is, you know, we could do a mini campaign like on LinkedIn of, if you know a Hawke's Bay business, then, you know, click the link and they can, or I keep saying Hawke's Bay, you know, a business that's been affected by the floods, click the link and they can join the directory.
I think also what's going to be good is to get ambassadors that are boots on the ground, so businesses that are, you know, operational there, because it's their community. They'll want to be part of it, and I think we do need to be inclusive in that department.
Yeah, so we did have a few posts around the cyclone, and we did have a few women that did answer to the posts that are in Hawke's Bay. They've gone radio silence right now, but I'm sure if we keep reposting and asking them, they would be advocates or women that would be prepared. The reason I left it such a distance from when it happened is, as I said, you need some time to absorb, time to think, time to regroup. So I think now is a good time to go back to them and say, hey, what's going on? What do you need? We're thinking of doing this. This is how we're planning on doing it. Is this something that you need? So, you know, as I keep saying, we don't need to have the answers. They'll provide us with the questions, and then we can throw back the answers at them, because we're all wanting to help, and that's the first step.
Yeah, I think, asking them, like, you know, and if we put together this directory, Like, what's the easiest way for you to be able to, you know, are we even being realistic in putting it together? Is it actually helpful, or is something else helpful? And what can we buy? You know, because I guess that's the other thing, is kind of like, is it buying stuff for September delivery? Because realistic, if you've got an online business, it's not like couriers are going to be able to do pickups, you know, to these, if it's being done from your home.
Good point.
But maybe it is, you know, pre-order for Christmas, pre-order for spring, or whatever. I'd be quite happy to do that. I know I'm going to buy, you know, say olive oil, for example. It could be, you know, putting together a package, 3 bottles for whatever, delivery in September or whatever. I don't mind waiting for it. There's always going to be olive oil in my life, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes, it comes.
Sarah and olive oil.
I can resonate.
Christine, any thoughts?
One of the things I've just been thinking about is that those, you know, one of the big impacts of COVID has been around staffing and availability of people. And so there's probably quite a lot of businesses without the staff to run their business because their staff have been impacted, maybe dealing with their own staff, etc. And it's very difficult to run a business when you don't have enough staff. So I think there's some topics that we're maybe not, you know, thinking through the implications, we're not really sure. So it could be that they want opportunity for more sales. It could be that they need some help with how do I reduce the footprint of my staffing needs or my, you know, or how do I support my staff but still be true to what I need in my business as well. And, you know, those kind of decision-making topics that maybe some kind of panel or some kind, we could create some topics that would be really relevant to what's going on. And until we know what those topics are, it's hard to respond.
Well, look, that's a big part of what I do with the RPA stuff. It's we use the Michael Porter principle, which is reduce your overheads with increasing your productivity, and it is a staffing issue. I mean, the reason we're selling robots at the moment is because, well, we don't have enough hospitality staff. So, yeah, I'm happy to put my hand up for any of those conversations.
Love it. It's so good to have you here, Ramona. Sounds like the robots are going to help a whole heap, especially right now. Okay, so ladies, we're about 15 minutes early in terms of our ending, which is fine. It's all good. There's no reason why we can't finish early, but is there any last thoughts, questions that you'd like to clarify, give input before we sign out today?
I think you're not alone. Sometimes you feel really alone in business, and it's would love those people that have been impacted or having challenging times to know that they're not alone. We are a community. We're here to support, and not sure what form that takes, but just knowing that we're here and we're thinking of you, I think is really important.
It's a big one to absorb though, isn't it? It's all good saying you're not alone, but then again, it's asking for help. That's the hardest step to take. Needs to be a blog around how to ask for help.
Yeah, maybe we need to demystify the word help and just use softer language. Assistance, how can we assist you? Is there anything I can do for you? Isn't, you know, making the language a little simpler. We don't want to feel helpless. We want to feel empowered. So maybe it's just a de-escalation of language to say, hey, I've got some capacity. Do you need me for anything?
We had the
That's a
same
really good point.
conversation in the group, didn't we, with the word around help. I think the word help is actually a trigger for some people.
Yeah.
It makes them feel helpless when someone's offering help and they don't actually know what help actually means. Like, what does the word help mean? How are you going to help me? So all those things come up once that question is posed. So yes, you're absolutely right, Ramona. A different approach would be with a more impactful result, I think, is the right way to go about it. Sarah, you know how to ask different questions around the word help, don't you?
Do I?
Yeah, you've used other language and not help.
Help. I can't actually think right now.
That's all right. You need some help with that.
I guess it can be support. One other thing I was thinking with that is a bit, you know, kind of a bit like when COVID was going around, and there's always someone in a worse position, and then, you know, people may be feeling like they're not warranted to take the support, help, whatever, because that person is so much worse off, whilst we're kind of like, look, just come forward, you know, because we're not going to be able to support everybody. And it's probably, you know, in some ways, maybe it's the ones who, you know, kind of need less, that, you know, that are easier to support. I don't know. It's not something that can be compared, right? You can't compare one business to another. Can't go, well, they lost, you know, they lost everything, they lost their whole warehouse, I didn't, so, you know, I
think Eloise touched on that as well. I think she had that initial hesitation as well, because there were people that were worse off than her, so she wanted to help more, which then brings me to this question, which I'd like to do around Robin then, is let's stick with the word help, assist, support. How does that look when you say that? Like, what does that actually mean? Have you thought about that when you've said, hey, I'm here to help, I'm here to support you? Is there a conversation, brief conversation we can have around what you mean by that? Because I think that will also give the person or whoever is looking for assistance an understanding of what you mean. Is it, you know, helping them work one-on-one and not charging them? Is it giving them a discount? Is it, what does it look like?
I think it's going to be based on the individual. So when I walk into a client, I don't give them the question. I ask what their pain points are. What are you going through at the moment? What would you like to achieve? So it's never going to be, you know, it will have moving parts to it. What might be a pain point for you might not be a pain point for somebody else. It's understanding, or I always say actively listening to what the client needs. What does the help look like? Sometimes it's just, you know, hey, let's get a virtual assistant, or let's get you some staff, whatever the case may be. I mean, I think we're all in this group to offer assistance in one form or another. But to ask what help they need or what support do they need, only they can tell us. And if that means then coming back to our group and then extending the support, saying, hey, this is something that one of these people need, who in our group or somebody we know can offer that.
I would agree with that, Ramona. It's not something that, you know, I can sit here and say, yes, I'm going to offer reduced fee services for coaching or whatever. Yeah. So, but it's more, you know, that might be relevant for some people. I don't know. I'm happy to offer that if this is the right thing to do. Yeah. But, you know, it could be a connection. They might need a connection to something. They might just need to sit down for 15 minutes and just vent. And I'm okay to do that with them on Zoom. I'm a good listener. So, you know, it's, making ourselves available to support in whatever way that we choose in our businesses. And it could look different for different people that we talk to. Does that make
100%.
sense?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I love it. Sarah?
The other thing that I'm just thinking is that do they actually know what help they need? Because like from you know, from a business perspective, from business strategy, we say that there's two audiences. There's, you know, they know where they want to be, and half of them know what the problem is, and they need that help to get from A to B. And the other half, they don't actually know what the problem is. So they, you know, these people, they're kind of like, well, I can't ask for help because I don't actually know what I need to get from where I am. I know where I want to be, but I don't know the steps, so I can't ask. Does that make sense?
100%. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's change management 101. A lot of clients don't know what tools are available, and this is down to the IT side of things again. You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know how to get there, you don't know how to ask the question. And that was something you touched on early on. So I think offering the support just to actively listen, and then using prodding questions to get to the truth, the current state, and understanding what the desired state looks like afterwards. Sorry, I use a lot of lean terminology. But yeah, it's the desired state, and it's the journey for them, because half the time when we start de-escalating the client's journey, hey, this is what I'd like to achieve, is it possible, or how do I go about it? That's how we start the conversation. Well, hey, this is your business, you know it intimately. What are you trying to achieve from it, or what parts do you think you want help with? Or it's just prodding, asking questions, using the technology and those listening skills, using those listening skills to get to the truth, and then asking really good questions: the how, the what, why are you trying to do it like this, where are you doing this? These are the kinds of questions we ask in the discovery phase. So we can use that same de-escalation to get to the question, but it's going to be conversations. It's going to be a lot of conversations.
Which, to your point, Sarah, people may not know what they need, but there's a whole group right here on the screen, as well as several other people in the group, I'm sure, who are able to, you know, just like you, hop in and say, hey, let me help you get clarity. Let me help you clarify what it is you might need. So they shouldn't be afraid to step up and ask for help, even ask for support, even if they don't know what they need. And we're speaking to you out there who are watching this right now. There are heaps of people who are there, or who are here to help you strategize.
Awesome, love it. Christine.
I guess, you know, I'm happy to offer an hour of my time to any of the people that are impacted by floods. I guess the process for me is that usually people come to me when they feel they're maybe at their capacity. They're, you know, at capacity in terms of their thinking and how they're feeling and what they are doing in their business or their wherever they're at. And that has two sides. One is their internal focus, how they're feeling, the intensity of what they're feeling. So the first thing we do is de-escalate that and get them into that calm space where they can see the opportunity and get a much bigger perspective of what is possible over a period of time and the next steps that they can take to get there. And in an hour, we can get to a point where they will know the steps. They will know what is next and how they're going to get there. And that is what I do. And I'm happy to do that for an hour with anyone who would like some support.
So while I have you all here, can I just have a raise of hands who is willing to offer themselves to have a conversation if there's women out there that need to have conversations? Cool. All right. So that's something that we can provide. I'll put something together and promote you as the leaders that are willing to have half an hour, 45-minute conversation with them to get them started. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Eloise is sending us lots of hearts, so that's good. All right. Okay, so I think we're going to sign off now. I'm going to stop recording. Everyone want to wave and say goodbye to everybody that's watching, and thank
Good luck,
you.
guys.